Boom! Recording posted to the internet. So yeah, if anybody who's not familiar with TIGRadio, we just have recordings. I'll have oh God, that was John leaving. He had a lot of noise. You still there, Ben? Nope.
Oh no, I'm still here.
Oh,
I had my mute on.
I didn't realize how much background noise John had. Now it feels quiet.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Oh, it's a bummer he bailed. I was actually wanting to ask him about some shit. I guess we could just call Dan then and fucking scream at him.
Scream at him off the recording.
Yeah.
I actually messaged him during the show. I was like, "Hey, we're the Humble Indie Muddle recording." Um, yeah, do you post a podcast feed? We do not have a podcast feed yet. I have a script on my local machine that creates the XML. I just haven't gotten off my ass and done the last 10% of the work to post it to iTunes.
What a chump. That would require us getting together 15 minutes before the show and not five.
Yeah, so people on the chat still, yeah, we know we're broadcasting to you. We're just not recording this now. Generally,
Yeah.
we have an after show with our guests where we continue to broadcast, but we do not record it to try to get some more off the cuff comments. Do it, faggot, get it on iTunes. Yeah, well,
That's pretty off the cuff.
yeah, I actually, because we're using Ustream, so I have a script that takes all the FLVs and converts them to MP3s and pulls down all the stuff off their API, and all that's done. I just need to figure out where to hit submit on the iTunes side of things.
Okay, so where's Dan? Is he around? What did he say back to you?
He never responded. I, I
Oh
could
my
I
God.
could call his phone number.
Yeah. Call his phone number. Does he ever pick it up when you call him?
Nah, well, if I call him from Skype, it'll be like unknown number. Let me text him on the text device, on my textular device.
Jesus Christ.
Uh,
He's
yeah,
probably
if
on one of his giant bean bags.
Ustreamer 96598. The iTunes feed is actually like an RSS XML feed, so you could digest it yourself, or you could do it through iTunes.
No, there's no more Wolfire guys here. It's just Matthew and I now.
Yeah,
Fools run.
TIG Radio After Show, so we can just blast him.
Oh, are you texting him?
Yeah, I can call phone. What do you do exactly? Who is that? Who is that aimed at? Well, whatever. It's
Yeah, they left. They're
yeah.
bored.
Maybe he left. Oh, both of us. We have profiles. If you scroll down,
Yeah,
if you're actually on TIGRadio.com, you can scroll down and read our profiles. We're all
they
that
might
remain.
not have a mouse wheel. So
We're all that remains of Flashbang Studios at the moment. Which was we've been around for 7 years as a company, but we most recently were well known for Blurst.com, which was a collection of quirky 8-week games. IGF, there's an IGF announcement tomorrow morning about some cool stuff.
tell us the finalists.
Well, maybe the announcement would do some of that, maybe for maybe one of the categories.
Oh, someone still goes on Blur from time to time. That's cool. Playing some
Dan,
crane wars.
Dan Tabar's going to stop by.
Oh, cool. When?
He said just a minute. Skype is fine. He'll message me.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but I mean, Blurst was rad. It didn't work for a lot of reasons. One was that we were more interested in trying out new ideas than making money, which is not a good way to make money. Yeah, Ben's going to GDC. Hell yes, dog. Looks like a nice. Yeah, Blurst is a bunch of web games made with Unity, which is a pretty cool game development technology that you should all be using by this point. Before Blurst, we made casual games. I will paste you our very first game. The artwork done by Mr. RV_EL himself in the chat. Oh, god damn it. I lost Ben. Now it's just me. So yeah, that Buzzwords game was our first game from 2003, which is old.
I made 360 games before Blurst. None of them were good.
Wait, what's wrong with Unity? Wiener, what's this? No, the China Shop game was ours too. All the games on Blurst are ours, except Paper Moon was a collaboration with Al Coloca, who had made a prototype of Paper Moon, and then he worked with some of our guys to create new levels and expand it a little bit. So Paper Moon is a collaboration, and all the other games are made exclusively by us. Was Wild Tangent still around?
Oh no, they're not.
Nice try, Alex, whatever the guy's name was who did Wild Tangent. Actually, the Wild Tangent guy was the guy that did um DirectX, whatever his name is, Alex St. John. He was like the DirectX evangelist at Microsoft way back in the day. Unity doesn't work on Linux yet, but I don't expect that to be true forever.
It was one of the original spywares.
Yeah, I actually think Wild Tangent became a portal at some point. Oh, and yeah, it looks like it's a portal. At some point, they were a portal for their technology. They're trying to encourage third-party developers to make games with their technology. Then I think they just ticked over to casual portal. Question to me, I guess. I actually did not. I have no industry experience. So other people that I founded Flashbang with have worked in the industry. RVEL in the chat is Mike Kime, he was the founding art director at Flashbang, and now he's a senior character artist or some shit at Epic. Um,
Some wealthy, prestigious shit.
I want to paste you one of his models because I like to paste it every time.
Which one? The Guile?
Yeah, if I can find his blog. Where is it?
Pseudo dash pod.
Slash blogspot dot slash
I don't think
com.
it's Blogspot.
Yeah, it is. Well,
Oh,
here's some of Shag's art because I like hyping Shag. But yeah, other people at Flashbang have had industry experience. I have not. I fucked around for a few years, and then I just kind of started Flashbang when I was 23. So as soon as Dan gets around, we can talk to him. I want to wait for Dan, watch him never show up, or take 500 days before he gets on the chat. Uh, so yeah, people who haven't. Wait, embarrassing? You're
yeah.
you're oh,
It's like a year old. It's
yeah,
so
that's yeah, that the Bison's a couple years. It's terrible artwork compared to my current abilities. Ah,
Shut up, Shag. Your shit's ridiculously so good.
I'm trying to find the guile.
When did Dan say he was going to be on?
He just said soon.
Okay, cool. So like 4 hours.
Yeah, so people, I didn't want to talk about it in the air because I actually don't want to throw him under the bus that much. But between the version of Cortex Command that launched in the bundle was Beta 24. Beta 23 was launched 580 days previous to Beta 24, and his community was like quite upset about the Beta 24 didn't really add anything new and just broke stuff. And they were like, "We waited 2 years, and this is kind of crap. What's up with that?" And then Dan was like, "You have no claim on my time. I'll do whatever the hell I want. I'll take another 10 years if I want to." And he just kind of like aggressively began to argue with the internet, which is never a smart move. So yeah, there's the Guile character too.
Oh, how embarrassing.
Oh, look at that. Did you see how I did his hair? We've learned how to do hair so much better since then. By the way, Shag, I talk openly about this every now and then, but my wet dream is to, after you're tired of making Space Marine heroes in 10 years, when we're all in our 40s, to start up Flashbang 2.0 with you.
God damn it, quit saying that.
Oh, but I totally want to.
Cool. What am I going to do once Shag's back?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No,
I don't have an answer to that.
No, I was saying I don't know. Someone asked what it's like starting a business. We don't know what it's like to start a successful business, which I think is a different answer than what you're looking for. No, the I don't know was aimed at you, Ben. Sorry, I was already tuned out. Oh God, I was already tuned out about that. The new Unity stuff, Asset Store is only doing kind of okay for them. It's fairly low numbers. I think it's fascinating that they can a lot of the stuff in there now is like features, kind of like editor extensions, which I think is really awesome because they don't work on things that there's some technical way to possibly do it currently. So like if there's a feature you want and you just cannot absolutely do it with Unity, they will work on it. But if there's some way that you could make an editor extension or do it yourself, they kind of downplay its priority. So I feel like if the Asset Store could provide a marketplace for that kind of functionality.
I also assume there's not many quality assets in there too, either. Just because there aren't that many Unity developers.
Yeah, but making a company I was 23 when I started Flashbang, and we were all quite young, and we just picked something and did it, and didn't think too hard about it. Just tenacity was our technique. But Flashbang hasn't made a tremendous amount of money. Flashbang's gone through, I think it's $530,000 of total throughput, like in and out, in 7 years with between 2 and 6 people. Much of that time was 4 to 6 people. And if you do the math on that, so it's like we have $530,000 divided by 7 years, 75K a year, divided by 6 people. Oh, look, that's $12,000 a year per person. Because like $500,000 sounds like a big amount of money until you start to do the math. We lived cheaply from the
No overhead, as little overhead as possible.
Yeah, when I started Flashbang, I was actually living with a girlfriend and her mother, and my monthly expenses were $150 per month for rent, power, food, everything. That's how I did it. Oh, I'm ridiculously happy.
Yeah, same here.
We
I
we we
sound like I'm not because I'm sick, but I am.
we would redo Blurst, even knowing that. I mean, so like we started Blurst with $200,000 in the bank, and it was like let's try to make cool, fun games for a while. And best case scenario, we hit like some huge amount of traffic that so large that even with our business ineptitude, we could monetize it. Like if we had 10 million fans or something, we could make money off of it. And worst case scenario, we'd be out of money. We'd have to do some contract work and stuff. But that worst case scenario still includes a year of making really fun games with your life, and that's not a bad year. So yeah, Ben and I did some contract work for Red Bull recently because we ran out of money. But yeah, I don't know. I think you should try to make your days happy and worry more about that than about like killing yourself to get rich. So yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know if Dan's actually gonna stop by.
don't buy a new car or an expensive house, and that defeats the purpose of having a low overhead.
We started the Blurst year with $200,000. So we had just wrapped up. We've actually made I think 8 games for Cisco systems that are basically training games, and that's been a big chunk of our revenue. So when we started the year where we said we're going to turn off contract work, we had like 220K saved up in the bank, just like in a checking account, and 6 people. Okay, so Dan is actually going to stop in. He just messaged me.
He isn't. He's canceled.
No. He said one sec.
Okay.
He's actually on a computer. Yeah, oh my God, Data's gonna. Is he gonna?
Is his shirt off?
Oh man, before he comes in, I'm totally gonna paste that.
Yes, Dan/Data.
Yeah, Dan is Dan Tabar to us and Data to you guys. But I'm just gonna do one of these. I don't know where that came from.
Whoa.
Boom! Oh my God, Ben's connection is the biggest piece of shit in the universe.
Yep.
Do you have a router going on there, Ben?
No, there's nothing else going on the internet.
No, but is it like cable modem to your computer, or is it like some wireless router or some shit?
Modem to router to computer, nothing's wireless.
But what router do you have?
What brand?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I just went to Fry's and said, "Give me a router." Put it in my hands.
You might want to run
a D-Link.
Yeah, you might want to run like one of the Linksys routers with the third-party firmware because those things are amazing.
Yeah, I haven't had any problems before tonight though, and everything else is still working. Like it's not like the chat is going out too. Like just Skype.
Yeah. You up there, Dan?
I am.
What's up? So yeah, you're on the after show. So there's still 68 people listening.
No recording though.
Yeah, but we're not recording this, and we're not going to post it. And there's a chat at TIGRadio.com if you want to.
Sweet. I can check that out. So 68 people have nothing better to do than to listen to us talk.
And there we go.
Well, there's actually been 343 throughout the show because
okay, cool.
The Humble Bundle people tweeted about it. They have more.
Oh, sweet.
They have more clout than we do. But yeah, so we talked to John and Jeff about the bundle, but just about the bundle in general.
Mm-hmm.
And then people were asking about you, so we said we would try to contact you.
Okay,
so
yeah,
Dan,
I'm looking at
people
the
in the chat. Ask questions of Dan.
I have a question for Dan.
Impressed. I don't know where they got that from.
Dan, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Explain your complete absence of a concept of customer.
I don't have an absence. I challenge that assertion.
Okay.
What do you mean?
What? Challenge it. Tell me that you have a concept of customer.
Oh, I have a customer is someone who buys a product, and that's pretty much it. And I do have people who buy my game. I assume this is pertaining to customers of Cortex Command, right?
Well, sure. I mean, because that's what you sell.
Sure.
I'm not talking about the bananas you grow and sell or anything
Right.
else.
Exactly.
So that's the extension of your that's your definition, and that's
That's
easy.
my yeah. That I mean that is the customer is someone who buys a product. They have a transaction with a merchant. The merchant is someone who sells the good and receives money, and the customer is the other guy. Holy shit, my
Okay.
cat's going crazy. All right,
Yeah, that
never
makes
mind.
sense then.
Yeah, no, never mind. So that's it. Yeah. What's where are you going with that?
I was just curious. I literally wanted to understand what your definition of customer was. It seems devoid of a meta definition like
Right. So
responsibility and
what is your definition of it? Is it different?
yeah, totally. I mean, I feel like if I was in your position and I had people who felt the way they felt about something I was making, it wouldn't be a matter of disregarding how they feel about it because I reserve some kind of right to take my time. And at least I wouldn't say it like that in that kind of a tone.
Yeah. I mean, uh, I probably came across really
Like an
poorly, and
asshole.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and that was also, I mean, the kind of state of mind I was in is after like spending an entire day defending myself against just these very few loudmouths that were just completely disrespectful and rude.
Did you just
And
call me a loudmouth?
not you, not you.
Okay.
No, that was in my fan farms I'm talking about.
Oh no, actually, Kyle was telling me about people on your forums with like, I'm gonna fly to Phoenix and like knock on your door and spit in your face, kind of a deal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that kind of thing is just uncalled for. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not.
I agree with that.
So that's what I was coming from, like dealing with that for an entire day,
Yeah.
literally.
Well, what?
And then I jumped over to the TIG forums and kind of joined the conversation with the same, I didn't wind down enough, maybe.
Well,
My
yeah, but
emotions.
what what seems to me, is just as an observer of how you've been interacting with some of your fans and some of your critics, is that you do seem like you completely disregard that any emotional investment could occur outside of this transaction of you
No,
paid
no, I
money.
can. If that was the case, it's regrettable because I do understand that people get excited about a game and they would like for it to see it, progress as quickly as possible, and of course, I mean, I know firsthand. I mean, I used to be kind of, in this most of the guys or people who play Cortex Command are about the same age as I was when I started making it.
Yeah.
I had like a vision for what a game I really, really, really wanted to see. And I saw, I played Lyra, which was basically the biggest influence on this project. And I was like, holy shit, I can make Lyra, but much better. Like I actually set out to do it and did it, or am doing it still after this much time. But I know exactly how they feel. And like some of the, most exhilarated moments or like excited moments in my life were when I got a hold of a new game or a new version, like Warcraft 2 when that came out. I remember like the the extreme emotions I had connected to that, just the anticipation of it, and just when I finally got it, like, the graphics and everything about it was just it made me so ecstatic about it and just emotionally uh, invested in it, as you would say.
Yeah.
And it's kind of so I get it. I get the emotions and so on, but what I'm pushing it back against is that those emotions like they're my responsibility somehow to uh if you have a reaction like that, that it's somehow my burden
Oh yeah.
to
No, I
appease or serve those emotions. Like I think it's great, and I'm obviously I'm happy that people are excited about the game I've been making for this long, and and I'm obviously stoked that people are willing to part money to actually buy a version of it. But I am not as excited about this kind of implied or imposed upon me like responsibility to keep everyone up to date to exactly what I'm doing in the game or with the game, or if I'm making progress at all. And like because it's so intertwined, like especially for us indies, I mean, our projects are so intertwined with our own lives
yeah.
that any kind of hiccup in someone's daily life, or if you go get a job, or if you have some life-changing event, it will affect the project immediately.
Yeah, or if you
It'll
get hooked on heroin for the summer of 2010, just put that
exactly
out there as a random
exactly
example.
right, exactly. Which
He
I was
didn't
not,
deny
but
it.
just to make that clear. But yeah, I mean, yeah, there's that direct thing, and it's not like people suggest like, oh, you should just tell people that I'm gonna check out for the summer or something, but it doesn't really work that way, because at least for me, I feel that I'm kind of taking life as it comes, and I didn't plan to take you know a big break in like this development lull that I've had over the last year and a half or year.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
and that's not to say that I didn't do any work on the game, because that's another misconception that people have. Like, they assume that nothing was done at all, which is bullshit. And that's something I'm trying to work up I don't know, get over the procrastination barrier of actually writing this blog post about why so little was progressed visibly in this build that came out. Because most of the work, like 80% of the work I did, went into the metagame, which is completely locked in this current latest build.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a lot of progress that's invisible, and I admittedly have done a really poor job of
Well, yeah, I
communicating.
mean, I think like my observation on just like the TIG source forum thread, I actually haven't gone into the Data Realms forums, is that, there was a lot of time that passed between the two builds, and
Mm.
like a lot of people have probably built up a lot of expectations, and I don't think it's your responsibility to meet those expectations or to make sure they don't feel disappointed. But at the same time, it's like I feel like you could have been more aware of that.
I
Wait a
could
minute,
totally, yeah.
so
I
much
mean,
has been fancy.
I was aware of the pressure, the immense pressure, like after people waited for a year and a half, that it was going
Yeah.
to be
Well,
a huge version that comes out. But I mean,
well, yeah, but
what I haven't done a good job of is communicating, like, why, when, for example, when I did decide to not ship the metagame in this, like, that I made the call that it wasn't going to make it into this
yeah,
build.
I feel like you should have said, I have to put a build out for the bundle, but don't
Right.
worry, there's some stuff coming down the pipe. Like even like a single sentence.
Exactly. No, totally.
This isn't my 2-year opus.
Yeah, yeah. No, and that's totally, my bad, and I completely admit it, because I mean, I do feel bad when people are disappointed, in general, like, if
Yeah.
on something that I've just as a result of some inaction or inaction of what I do. It's doesn't feel good, and it's not like I revel in it or anything. But uh, the problem has really been like the format of. I mean, I'm realizing now the hard way is like the format of communicating, like the channel I've been communicating with people who enjoy the game, has been the blog mostly. And it sounds silly, but like a blog post is actually kind of a big thing for me to do psychologically. I don't know if it's just some weird quirk I have, but
I think so.
yeah, but
Go
like
on.
just sitting down, finding an image that is applicable, and
Well,
just
yeah,
writing, formatting, and like, it's just a big pain in the ass, really. Like, that's
yeah.
why.
Even at Blurst, we're like, let's write 2 blog posts a week, and with 6 people, it became hard to do that, and then also make progress.
Exactly, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's funny. It sounds ridiculous, like, okay, a paragraph and an image, like, how hard can that be? But it really is. Like, I feel, and especially the longer it goes, like, the more pressure builds to have an amazing blog post, because people are waiting for, you can't just like fart something out, and after a year, and like, it just, it's the same kind of mechanic. So I think the solution is something that was suggested, or um, I don't know what came up with the idea, but there's having the Subversion commit check-in comments automatically go to Twitter feed.
Yeah.
Because I think that would solve, because I do write those comments anyway, and I write them for myself mostly, but I just write exactly what I am changing and so on, and it shows progress, and it's kind of a proof. It's kind of like it's a very easy way to increase the transparency of into the process. So I think that is really going to be the solution for
Yeah.
to avoid this kind of thing.
Yeah, we actually got 4,600 updates to our Flashbang account, which is all source control stuff, although it looks like it broke
Oh,
the last couple of months because they probably changed their authentication shit or something. But
I see.
yeah, like during the Blur days, we would actually just And you actually could find out about projects that we have never announced or never showed anything because like the project name shows up.
Yeah, yeah, and that's cool. I mean, especially really gung ho fans will love that.
Yeah, there's 380 followers and probably about half of them are bots.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure some of them are
It,
humans.
there's there's been a bit of a problem too, like where, well, it's not even, there's really no point to bringing that up. It's just, that it's hard to,
Oh, your rash?
especially,
Yeah,
what's that? My
nothing.
rash, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's horrible. No, it's the kind of managing expectations and especially when there's a vacuum. Like I really don't enjoy keeping everyone up to date. Like
Yeah.
especially since my plans for the game and the design of it is in such a turmoil. Like I don't have a document where it says exactly. I do have something for the metagame now. I finally like wrote something down, like the exact mechanics of how it will work technically, and that's really for myself, so I can like straighten it out. But I don't have. I change things so quickly and often, kind of in my head for what I want to do, so that it's hard for me to communicate it, even to the team of guys who are working with me. There's about 4 guys on the content team, so to speak, or five, including Prom. And even to them, like that's what we're gonna sit down and talk about now. Like we've actually finally we're getting some nice systems up now where we have a nice group Skype chat going like 24/7, and we all have Dropbox accounts that we share between each other
Yeah, yeah.
and stuff like that. So like we're really kind of getting it together, and with them, I'm gonna really sit down and kind of get everyone on the same page and not be such an enigma, like in what we want to do, because they've also, kind of like it's hard to work on something that you don't even know what it's gonna be. Like the vision hasn't been communicated.
Yeah, yeah.
So but that's kind of a two-tier thing. Like I need to talk to them, make sure they understand, and then I need to talk to the public and make sure they understand. Like and that part is not something I really enjoy, and it's kind of just my immaturity as a game developer, I guess. I mean, the next project, especially that we want to do for Data Realms, is it already now. Like the big step for me was to not program the whole thing from scratch, like what I did for Cortex Command. But like I have this amazing guy in Slovakia who's been
Yeah.
programming on that for over a year now.
Have you
And
have you thought about doing the same thing on Cortex Command, just finding like another full-time programmer that would take over for you?
I have thought of that. I feel I would rather not do that. I want to finish it on my own.
Is that like an emotional thing or is that more of
It
a
is. It is. It
okay.
is. Yeah, it probably is. And I like it's my baby. I want to finish it, and it's just
Well,
gonna be.
hold on. Do you really want to finish it?
Yeah, I
Like
do
that
actually.
seems like such a huge question. Like, do you actually care about finishing it at this
I think
point?
that's really.
Do
It's
you know
really
what that
funny because
entails?
people assume. Yeah, people assume that I'm burnt out on the project, and I'm really not. Like, especially now, I am very excited about it again, and that's the funny thing, is that it comes and goes. Like motivation to work on the project comes and goes in these cycles that last years, literally. Like I will work on the game hard for a year and then take a year's break off of it. And that's happened at least 5 times now, like over the span of the entire project. I mean, I've had jobs and I've gone to school and all these things that put it on the back burner. And then I come back and I feel really excited to work on it again. And I'm definitely on the upswing of one of those cycles right now. Like I feel we have the same. I have actually a really good team to work with now, and the metagame is like 80% there, and when that's going to be done, it's going to be huge. It's going to be so cool to play that, even just for myself. But I think that people are going to really like it too. But I'm
You can't
excited to
blame
play.
people for assuming you're burnt out when there's such huge gaps, though. Like,
No, no, no. I don't blame them. I don't. I
well, you seemed
understand.
really frustrated with the people who were frustrated about that, though.
I was frustrated at people for making character attacks on me, based on that. Like I can understand when if someone comes to me and says like, I'm really concerned about the progress of the game, and they make like, they and then I can talk to them. I can assure them like, but if they start, you know, writing the kind of things that some people, I'm not going to say all, because I only really heard people who shouted the loudest, so to speak, in the most vulgar way, most immature way. Like the people saying that I was just like taking the money and running and all this bullshit. It's just like I am still working on it, so all that is completely false. I understand that why they might like assume that I had stopped them, but even if I had stopped completely without notice whatsoever, they still have no right to demand anything or call me a crook. Like
I feel like some of your wording is very positive. Like even on your buy page, it's like for the more expensive version, it's like your help will not be forgotten.
Yeah, like you're
yeah,
selling an
it won't be forgotten.
expectation.
I mean, literally, they're when someone buys the support version, I mean, it is recorded in our database. So I mean, literally, it's not forgotten by our system, and it's not like
Well,
something that we will.
I don't think the most people will read that phrase and go, "Oh, it will not be forgotten" as a database flag. I don't think
Yeah,
that's what
no one cares
I
Well,
don't
about
think
that.
that's what they're
I
thinking.
mean, the database flag will translate into perks later down the road, if we get to that point. But that's the thing. Like, there's no guarantee or promise or anything that it will happen. And you think the wishful thinking of people, yes, of course I'm going to be like positive in my sales pitch on the website about, like, we are, because that is true. We are passionate. I wrote that we are passionate about this project, but we cannot guarantee that it will be finished. Okay. So
Sure.
it's, I try to balance it off, but people love to, it's kind of a wishful thinking, like they love to think that, he's totally going to finish this for sure. And I feel the same way, but I could die tomorrow, like then the project's dead, and no one's going to get a refund if I die.
Dude, that's
So
totally different though. Like if you fucking die and then the game can't be done, like
of
that's not your
course,
fault.
of course, but is it my fault if my motivation dies and I stop
It's
working
it's
on it?
it's your fault if you
No.
do that and don't like change the wording of the page or give people refunds. I don't know. It's like when we
No,
cancel.
I don't think so. I don't think so because the wording literally, like, unless you can point out exactly what wording says that people will get a refund if I don't finish the project.
Well,
I
not
mean
not
that,
not a refund, but
or
the
even
wording of the
even they
page
have
is
a right to gripe. I mean, I can understand. I mean, in a way, it's amazing. It's fantastic that people are so upset. I mean, it says a lot about how much they like the game because if
yeah,
they didn't care, I wouldn't hear shit.
yeah.
And
No,
then,
I
you
get
know,
that. It's just
so in a way, like I understand that too. Like it's just a sign that people care a lot about the product. But then again, it's not an excuse to call me a crook. That is
I
what
don't think
yeah,
people actually called you a crook.
Yeah, and we're not having
I
that
think they definitely
conversation. Like we
certainly
don't think
did.
you're a crook.
They definitely did. Like some people did, and
I think you're reading into that as much as they were reading into their expectations.
no, because it was very, very, very explicit on my fan forums. I'm not talking about the Take
Oh,
forum.
okay. Yeah, I'm not up on your fan forums.
Well, that's the thing. That's where again, I mean, I regret that I came into the Take forum after like a day of dealing with it
Yeah,
personally.
that's like getting into a bar fight and then going into like a nice restaurant. I guess Tig Source isn't really a nice restaurant. That's going into it.
It's a different bar at least, and yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
so I understand that. I mean, it was kind of like going in, and it was. I mean, in honesty, it was also because you've given me such a hard time about working so slowly on the project and being, you know,
I don't give you a hard time about working slowly. I give you a hard time about like um talking, like we had these conversations in our when we carpooled about all these, grandiose plans to do stuff. I give you a hard time because you tell me that you want to do more with it and then you don't. If you were just to tell me I'm not going to work
I
on it
don't,
for a
I
while, I
don't,
wouldn't
I
hold you
don't
to it.
do it in the. That's the thing. That's what bothers me is like, yeah. I mean, I wish like everyone else, I wish I could have finished this game several years ago, right? Like it's not like I'm happy to. Well, I am happy to take as much, the fact that I can take as much time as I want. But I mean, I would love to have finished this game a long time ago, like and worked on the next project, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I get you there, but it's people assume just because it has taken this admittedly unusually long time between updates that there's no progress and I have no intention of finishing it. Like
Oh no,
just
yeah.
because it's out of the norm doesn't mean I have given up on it. And that's just my weirdness, right? Like, I mean, I didn't expect this project to take 10 years when I started it. And I didn't expect it to, even 2 years ago, to still be going on now.
Do you
But
think you'll be working on it 2 years from now?
I mean, to some degree, like who knows? That's the thing. When I say I want to finish it, I want to get it to a state where I can call it like a finished product. And that's kind of a vague way to put it. I mean, it's kind of because what if it still is an engine with that people are contributing to maybe in a semi-official way, like the content team like keeps on adding stuff to it, or we keep adding official, certified mods to it that come from the, stuff like that. I mean, those are ideas that are rattling around in my head. And so if there's content being added to it after years from now, I mean, is it finished or is it not? That's kind of for me personally, if I finish the meta game and I polish it up and make it like a solid experience that you can play over and over and over again with your friends,
Yeah.
to me, that's kind of my definition when I feel I'm going to be like, this is closure. This is like, I have finished a very fun experience where you can like have a start and finish, play it over and over. It's
Why
kind
not?
of like,
Have you thought about saying it, just like, hey, I'm going to set it like a deadline of the end of 2011 for myself. And then if it's done, it's done. If it's
it
not
never
done, I'm
works
just going to
out.
be done.
That's the thing. I mean, how many times have you had a deadline? Like even this year, like I was going to finish it, the metagame by the end of this
Well,
year.
yeah, but the last time you had a deadline was the
Not gonna
bundle.
happen.
And
What's that?
the last time you actually had a deadline was the bundle, and there were new bits. So, I mean, like,
Yeah,
I
it's true.
I think it's a question
That
of if you were to
is
have a
true.
deadline and announce it and like, put it all over the place and have a like I think on your blog, like days until next build is, 24 days left.
That shit never works out. Like for me, yes, the deadlines in that have happened throughout this project, like the IGF deadlines, submission deadlines, they have pushed the project forward a lot. That's
Yeah.
true. But self-imposing deadlines has never worked for me.
Well,
Like
find some. I'll give you another $100,000 if you can get it done by. Find some way to impose an external, whether it is you're
are
just
you
telling your
offering
community.
that? Because that's a saucy.
Dude,
That,
dude, I don't flashbang up until like earlier this week had like $200 in its bank account. Like I don't have that kind of financial heft.
yeah, I guess.
But I mean, well,
That,
what? So okay, so if money is generally, not that I actually don't want to accuse you of being money focused because I actually feel like that's a really mean way to look at the bundle, but if you do care about money and your community cares about features and has money to spend, do like a Kickstarter thing where with like a Kickstarter funded project, if it doesn't hit the target, nobody no money.
well, no,
Well,
because then
like
they
no,
actually do have a reason to become my boss,
well,
and
do you want to
that
get it?
is not something
So
I want.
is that a price you want to? Well, no, but
No,
not
because
no, not, well, no,
I don't get this whole obsession with finishing it like
no,
that.
hear me out on my idea first.
Okay,
So people could put money into a bounty for the next build,
on my head.
and like the bounty would have a date, and if you don't reach that deadline, the money isn't taken from the people. It's more of a
Oh,
pledge.
oh, I see.
So like that's how
Sure.
Kickstarter works is that if a Kickstarter project does not get funded, like it only makes half of its money, that money doesn't go anywhere. It actually isn't taken from somebody until it's met the criteria. So
Right.
say like there's a bounty for build 25 February 15th. People can pledge money $5 into it, and then if it doesn't happen, then that money isn't taken from them and doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. It's an interesting idea. That's not how Kickstarter works, though, right? Like the bounty model is not how it works, right? It's more like if it doesn't hit the target.
Yeah, they don't actually check to see if the promised things were delivered, but if it
Yeah.
doesn't hit its funding target. So I mean, you also could do a Kickstarter style where you said, there's a $5,000 bounty for build 25, and if it doesn't hit $5,000 by February 15th, it won't happen. But I feel
I
like
mean, it's interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting way. Maybe that could be a way to get like a regular, reliable cash flow going to like between builds and stuff.
yeah,
It's an interesting concept. I think it might even work, and it might even make me finish it quicker. It would introduce a lot more stress into my life
oh
and
yeah,
less,
certainly.
and that's the like thing for me. I'm thinking that's why a lot of people don't seem to get, especially the fans of the game, is like this like my personal life is so intertwined with this project
Yeah,
that and like I'm thinking about the big picture in terms of my life, and that's what they don't see. They don't see the other stuff that's going on in my life. Like this
Why don't you
summer,
tell them then?
because it's none of their fucking business. Like that's the thing. Like, do you think most of the fans they don't even care? Like if I'm they don't care about, my desire to not work for, a summer, right? Like they will not sympathize with that, and they will. I mean, some of the more mature, of them will understand, and they've even said that, like several people have, we understand if you don't want to work on it, but you should tell us. But I don't really like that. That's the thing too. Like I don't plan these things out. Like I didn't plan out to not work this entire summer, right? Because I mean, I did work a little bit sporadically, but honestly, it wasn't a whole lot of progress on it during the summer. And it's not something that at the beginning of the summer I was like, I'm not gonna freaking work for the next 5 months. I don't feel like it. It's I don't see that doesn't get planned out in advance, so I can't tell people in advance.
Oh yeah.
And I
Well,
when I'm
but it
halfway
doesn't
through,
matter.
it's
Like you don't have to be psychic. Like, and you also don't even have to get into the nitty gritty details. Like, it's just a matter of saying like, hey, this is kind of what's going on, and shit's a little bit hectic. Like, that's the whole point of an update. But the
mm,
problem is you don't really like to do that. And whether you want to think it or not, the people who play Cortex Command still care about you. You're still the face of the game, whether you like it or not. And
uh,
it's, some of the little kids might not care that, you're having problems with your girlfriend or whatever the fuck.
right.
But, you can say, like, shit's crazy right now and I'm sorry. Like, just the fact that you're bothering to say something would make a huge
Sure.
difference versus
I don't doubt
580
it. I
days
don't
of
doubt it.
nothingness.
And yeah, I don't doubt it that like me telling, giving more insight into my personal life would have helped,
I don't think
this.
it's insight into your personal life. It's insight into your state of mind. You can say I'm super stressed right now, and not have to say I'm super stressed
But
because
I don't feel like doing that. Like it just doesn't seem like it's my private, like maybe I'm just like I don't know. Like I don't I feel uncomfortable doing that.
well, I
Like
mean, you adopted
I
an
don't
open
feel like it's any of their business really. Like
you
that's the
adopted
other,
an open development model as a one-person team. It's inevitable. Like your other option is just to climb up and release a product.
or release builds whenever I feel like it. I mean
Well,
that's actually something I've toyed with. It's
I
kind of
feel
like
like
it's kind of
yeah,
like Apple and how they every product they release is just like I'm not I don't want to
sure, but
great.
everyone
It's like it comes out of the blue and this is it. This, take it or leave it.
yeah, but
And
they don't they only do that with like 1.0 products. I feel like you could do that if it was 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, but if it's beta something else, I feel like yeah, like open development requires some degree of openness, and I feel like you like can't have your cake and eat it too, and like in terms of the game isn't like a 1.0 product, you can't do everything.
I don't see why
Things are
not.
things are
And frankly, I don't see why not. I don't see why it couldn't be. Here's a new update, and this is what's in it, and I'll see you until next update. You know,
well,
it's
I think it matters specifically because people are heavily modding your game and your updates are breaking mods.
that's true. I mean,
If it were
and
like a
I
1.0
do
thing,
go to extensive. Hold on. I'm getting a call from someone. 1 second. Is it possible to take the call? Hold on. Let me just see what it is.
sure. Well, we can spy on his life. I'm actually need to go
Oh,
food pretty soon.
God damn it.
I'm good. I'm on radio.
God damn it, indeed.
A
I'm
fucking
on
idiot.
radio right now. So can I call you? Yeah, can I call you back in half an hour? Sweet. Sounds good. Bye. Sorry about that.
Problem.
But yeah, so it's kind of like I don't know if that's a necessary component to it, because obviously it's not working. Like it's been years and years of not doing this properly.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like it's as simple as you're selling a game that's not yet done, and even with your disclaimers of the game may never be done, there's still that expectation.
All that that's not my fault as far as I'm
Yeah, it
concerned.
is. You're selling an expectation with this business model, dude.
I'm
That's the
not
whole.
I'm not selling. Well, that's not my fault, because if I have the disclaimers on there, it is people are approaching it with a wishful thinking, or if it's something they might have experience with Minecraft or Dwarf Fortress, where it is updated much more frequently and so on. I mean that's not. I can only do so much. I can only tell them like this is. I might even put a bigger disclaimer on there, like the next update might come in 10 years. Okay, so don't have an expectation that it will come in sooner. So I mean, I do that, and
Well,
then people
wait, I
can
mean,
take
yeah,
it.
like I actually feel like and this is where things get a little bit soft because this really is kind of like an opinion, but I feel like you have an ethical obligation to be as transparent as possible. If on your buy page you had a little piece of text that said days since last update and it said 580, people
Right.
wouldn't be buying the game. And I feel like if you're going to have that sporadic
Well, they
update,
could look at the devlog. They could look
yeah,
at
yeah,
if they're
yeah.
really interested in that. It's kind of a like, you know,
But your devlog is
Coca-Cola
talking about
advertising value. You
features.
know, our
Your,
drink
your,
will actually make
your,
you really fat and or
your
it's for your body.
Yeah, but
Like,
your like devlog has features and screenshots of features that are not yet even available. If you look at your devlog, they're going to have an expectation of being able to play a metagame, and they won't be able to do
no,
it.
because I'm clearly stating that this is a preview of this is what I'm working on. This is a screenshot. And like some of them are
No,
clearly
but one of the titles is Concept No More, and you're talking about how you've implemented the what was previously like 4 or 5
yeah,
posts ago, but
it's not
it's
it's
implemented.
not
But anyway. No, I actually I do feel like you feel like you have a disclaimer and it's okay, but I actually feel like ethically speaking, you could do more to protect yourself from these.
like a bigger disclaimer.
Yeah,
It's kind of
or even
it's kind
like
of
a days since last build, average number of days per build. I feel like those things alone would completely insulate you from any ethical responsibility. And I feel like it's not. I feel like it's you're going too far when you say it's not my fault. I have no. I mean, yeah, it's not 100% your fault, but to say that my hands are completely clean of any expectation of updates that add any new functionality is not an accurate. I mean, you have
it's not. I
yeah,
understand the
you have dev
patient,
posts that are promising
and
features.
that's the thing. I definitely I can communicate that I am passionate about the project and I am working on it at my own pace.
Yeah,
And
and yeah,
maybe
and you can.
I will maybe change my disclaimer to be more
No, yeah,
more
I feel like
worded.
it's totally fair to just lay it out and say, here's the current pace of the project. I love the project, but here's how fast it's progressing. If you want to get on board now, you can get on board now. If you don't, you don't. But
Yeah.
I feel like if you were to come across the game as a game player and kind of hit up your forums, browse a couple pages on your devlog, I feel like the impression you're going to come away with is that the game is under more regular releases, under more active development than it actually might be. But yeah.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, maybe although the devlog posts are dated, and you can see that the last post before the bundle one was in June,
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of, yeah. I mean, I could put it more up front, I guess. It's I don't feel it. Yeah, I could advertise more there. Like this, I could make it more frank. I kind of agree with that. Like I've thought of how to avoid this in the future. Like I have thought of planning up even more in terms of updates and like actually telling people that I will not tell you anything about this. Like that's part of the disclaimer. Like I am
Yeah.
not going to keep you updated, other than here, when the new updates come out, that's when they come out, and that's you can enjoy them when they come out. But there's no, and I'm not going to keep anyone updated because I can't work on the game and do that at the same time, or I just don't want to. Like I don't want to. So it's possible. I mean, I might do that, and but I don't think uh, it's kind of how I have done it now anyway, implicitly, but I haven't like warned people as much of it. So I guess that is where the disconnect is, where people have an expectation coming in from other games, where people like Marcus, like Notch, and Taran Adams, like when he's working on Dwarf Fortress, like he's very frequent about his updates,
Yeah, yeah.
and people have that expectations just from other games.
Well, yeah, I mean, I also feel like it's getting more aggressive. Like the games that were in open development begin to compete with each other based on their frequency. Like Overgrowth has had over 100 weekly builds, and weekly builds scare
Yeah.
the fuck out of me. Like I would be afraid to do weekly builds. It'd be hard to pull it off.
Not only would I be afraid of it, like I almost feel, uh, as someone who is interested in Overgrowth as the project, like weekly is too much for me. Like I feel overwhelmed as
But no,
a
yeah, and
potential. This is a personal. This is a tangent, and it's a personal like opinion of mine. Like weekly for me, it feels almost like a chore. Like I
yeah,
don't want to see weekly update with
no,
thing.
and I'm totally on board with you, and I totally agree with your point on the Take Source forums where you said, like, would you hold me to the Blur schedule or the Blurst, schedule to the Cactus schedule, and like you wouldn't. I just feel like people are going to overlay some expectation upon you based on their experience with Blurst or Cactus or with Overgrowth.
Absolutely, and I
And I
understand
feel like
that.
yeah, you just need to lay it out. Here's the pace of development.
Yeah.
Here's how things happen at Data Realms. And if you're cool with that, you can buy the game or buy the bundle or whatever. But if you're not cool with that, like, sorry, wait for 1.0, which might
Yeah,
be.
I might very well do that, and I think that is probably a good kind of reaction to what has gone down here. I think
Yeah,
that is
and I feel
something.
like technically it really just needs to be like the last three builds were, days 30, 90, and 140 or whatever. I don't know.
Even that I don't think would really put someone off as much.
No, I mean it would make people think more like, well, what can I do in the current version? Like, and then it'd be like all these fun mods and things to do. I don't know. I
I
feel
mean,
like
people are actually playing like older versions of the game just because they like it better. Like for some reason, there's some obscure reasons. Like people think version 22, build 22 runs better than.
yeah, yeah.
More power to them. If they want to play that one, go ahead. It's kind of I don't really care. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to put up explicit counters. I would maybe just put up some because that's work. I don't know how
It's not
to.
that. I have PHP skills. I'd help you out with that.
Okay. If
I,
you want to,
I don't feel like
you
it's
want
that
to,
much work.
you want to, volunteer some that. So I would love that. But
Actually, you probably just ask someone in your community. I'm sure there are people that would love to
yeah,
do a thing for you.
absolutely. But then again, I just yeah, that and the Twitter feed maybe like that combination of that. So there's some kind of pulse
Yeah.
because if I can set that up and not have to worry about it later. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
great.
so to speak frankly, like one reason that we, and I think Ben probably gives you shit about this too, is that we never developed with Blurst a community that is anywhere near your size, anywhere a fraction of your size. Like the fact that you have this active community of people that spend time like making animated GIFs and doing mods and doing all this cool stuff is freaking amazing. And you've had it feels like to me at least that you've had it for so long that you've just taken it for granted. Like,
Yeah,
oh, of
I'm
course,
just
everyone's
wondering.
game
No,
has
I
has an
understand.
army of
I
awesome
think you
people.
guys overestimate the size of the community versus I think what you see is really the fanaticism of it. Like
Yeah, but
there's
we had two fanatics at Blurst.
right.
Fanaticism is still a measurement of a community,
Oh,
though.
I'm not criticizing. I'm just pointing out that
Yeah, no, but
you say
it's
size. I'm saying yes. Okay, so
your
the
your community has harder numbers.
done.
You have more active forum posters
Yeah,
total and more fanatic forum posters total than we ever did with Blurst.
sure. I mean, yeah, it's kind of, but I mean, I don't know what to say really. Like it's wait,
I
like
think you don't know what to say because I think you don't ultimately care about fans. It's if I had to guess, I'd say you don't understand what a fan is, and you either can't or don't care about it.
I understand. I think I do understand. I was, again, a big, gamer when I was the age of most of the Cortex Man fans, as far as I know. I haven't done any polls or anything, but I understand they are mostly in their teens, in high school and so on. And that's awesome because that's when I envisioned this game when I myself was that age, and it's kind of where it came from. So it makes sense, and I think it's awesome. It's heartwarming, but the fans, to me, it's not. I'm not making the game for the fans. That is very much true. I am making it for myself personally, and that is, and like I wrote in the Takes for Storms, I think it's fantastic that other people are enjoying it as well, and I think it's even more fantastic that they're prepared to give me money for a license of it, because that means I can just work on it more. Like it serves my desire to work on it, at the pace I want and the way I want.
That's not fair though, because people don't donate to you. People have to give you $10 in order to play Cortex Command. It's not like you're making this game for yourself. It exists on a server somewhere, and then they can just play it whenever the fuck they want. Like you have a customer relationship with them, and you squander that. And furthermore, like I don't know why you keep bringing up Minecraft and Overgrowth. Like this isn't so much setting the expectation of the expectation that you sell as much as the fact that you're selling a video game. Like you're not selling a cheap t-shirt with a funny slogan on it. Like you're selling something that by default is incredibly meaningful, and it's something that's incomplete. and whether
Well,
it
it's
provides
meaningful to me. Like let's you know, like the T-shirt will actually cost just about as much as my game costs. So like
But you don't.
the monetary. So we've already gone over like
You
the
don't get
whole.
to determine how meaningful it is to other people. Like someone else could play your game and it
Oh, I
could be
know,
more
but it
meaningful
doesn't.
to them than it is to you.
It'd be awesome. Like if it could be, you know, it could be someone's life. It could be more meaningful to someone else than it is to me. Even.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like people
It
have emailed
possibly
us
is
about.
even. It might possibly, you know, like some of the Critics Man fans might even feel that it's more important to them than
Well,
I
yeah,
feel it's to me.
people emailed me
However,
about first games.
that doesn't put like an obligation on me, right?
No, yeah,
Like
it does
that.
put an obligation, but you should. It's something you should respect at least. And like that's the thing is respect requires no action. I mean, well, yeah, it doesn't require effort to be respectful of somebody.
I recognize it and I respect it, but I don't respect it to the point where I feel I need to, you know, I become their slave, like the slave to their obsession, you know, like that. That's where I draw the line. Like I understand it happens, and I appreciate that it happens. I don't appreciate when it becomes a kind of like implied, imposed obligation on me to like.
who's demanding you be a slave? That's so
Well,
extreme.
it's extreme wording, but like the way some of these guys wrote in the forums, that's literally like they didn't say slave, but it's like they were demanding, like, you know, it's time to ask some fucking questions, you know, like it's like, you know, demand answers, and like they were acting as if they were my boss, you know, and they had bought my time somehow. You know, that's what bothered me the most, is that they felt entitled to, you know, not only answers, but entitled to updates and entitled to communication and entitled to all these things just because they had paid friggin' $18. You know, like
I don't know if they're entitled,
my
but I
time
think
and attention it costs a hell of a lot more than that. Like if someone wants to
I,
hire me, it
I,
costs a lot more than that.
I don't know if they're entitled, but I think they're fairly deserved. I would use that phrase without
No, that's the same.
apology.
That's semantics. Like,
No, fairly deserved and entitled is one thing. Like, in entitled to my mind even has like a legal connotation where you know you have to get this. There's no way
right, right.
you
I
can
mean,
get it.
that's.
Fairly deserved is like you holding the door open for somebody when they walk into a you know an establishment. It's like
I don't think it's fair at all for someone to demand things of me when they have no like no basis for it, like other than their own wishful thinking. You know, like just because someone wants your money doesn't mean they can have it. You know, like just because someone dreams of or has an obsession about, you know, someone else or someone else's property or something doesn't mean they can have it. You know, it or it doesn't mean that someone. If I wish I was the king of the world, doesn't make me it. You know, it's taking
But
it
you
to the
sold these
extreme.
people an incomplete game, though. Like that's when you started your
But that
relationship.
no, that's the thing, Ben. Like I sold them the current version of it, and it's discounted. Like that's very clear on.
how many of your players also think that as clearly as you think that? And if the answer is very few, then maybe you should work on your messaging.
Here's a disclaimer. I mean, I could have in the middle of the checkout process, I could have like an entire page of that huge disclaimer, which they have to read through and like explicitly click on "I agree." I could go that far. Like, would you be happy then? I mean,
Well,
that's
no,
like I could have
it
I
sounds
could
like
have like a EULA, you know, like you know, you
listen. No,
have.
see, what it wasn't about whether I'm happy or not. It seems like you're.
Would you feel
It's
that's
no,
acceptable?
it seems like you're confused that a gulf this wide could exist between your expectation of the transaction and the customer's expectation of what just happened. And I feel like, yeah, that gulf to me is completely understandable because, as Ben said, they bought an incomplete game and they expect it to be complete. But if you feel like that's not how they should think, and you don't understand how that gulf could have formed, then yeah, maybe you should take steps to address it, to like change your
Okay,
message.
well, what is the? I mean, we've already talked about having a more.
Poll your users and be like, what are your expectations? And if their
Mm,
expectations are totally like, no, not your forum community, like you
right.
have the emails people that bought the game, like poll people that don't have forum accounts.
I could. I mean, the funny thing is that I've had literally. I think I can count on my one hand the number of refund requests I've had over 3 years, where someone has actually wanted their money back because there wasn't, you know, like they thought it was false advertising. I mean, my refund rate is
Well, yeah,
so low compared to what I've heard are
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like a lot of that is because people buy their game after they're pitched it by their friend at school or something. Like, your game's viral nature was that somebody loved the game enough to explain why it was awesome to their friend.
right.
And I actually feel
Right.
like that's kind of
Well,
what's
that's kind of telling though. I think it's really telling. And I
I know,
tell
but I
people,
think it's
on my
extremely
forums,
telling that that's how your game is spreads, and you're risking breaking the back of that community by ignoring them and kind of confronting them.
I think you're concerned for my relationship with my community is heartwarming, but it's kind of like you care more about it than I do, obviously.
No, I
Because
care about it.
I
It's
think
a
really like
fascinating
I've
example.
even considered like just shutting down the forums for an indefinite amount of time.
Who cares about the forums?
What's that?
Who cares about the forums? Like
That is where the people
They
who actually care about the
they
most.
just make a new one in like a day.
They would, yeah. I mean, they would go off and make an official one. I'm like, there's no doubt.
Well, what I'm
Even
trying to
like
say
when
is
my
that these people still represent the people who don't participate in the forums, but still have your game to a more or less degree. Like, it's not like there aren't people outside of the forums. A lot of people who own your game have had a meaningless experience with it and may feel the same, even though they're not voicing their concerns on a message board.
okay, well,
Like it's not
so
like you're just
let's not look at
addressing
the
forum
okay. Let's
users.
ignore the forums then. Let's say just looking at it's pretty clear, I believe, like how to make like how to get a refund. Like really, if they don't think they got their money's worth, and if they
But
don't
no one really cares about $20. That's the other thing. It's like, be
well, they certainly make it out to care about it. Like they make it out to be like
but no,
that $20
they
spot,
don't care about their money. They care about their investment in the game. They care about their investment in as a
their
community.
emotional investment in
No,
it.
not even emotional. Probably practical investment in terms of mods they've made, in terms
Right?
of evangelical actions they've taken. I mean, they're going to have at some point they're going to have like a societal investment in the game. If they convinced three or four of their buddies in some like at school to like play the game,
Yeah.
and then they're like, "Why isn't there new stuff in the game? You said there was new stuff all the
Yeah, I
time."
understand that. No,
Like your people's individual sort of political capital is going to be at stake here amongst their groups of friends. It's like it's much more nuanced than I think you've given it credit for. And I feel like if you, I don't know, like I also feel like we're talking in circles, and I need to go get some food soon.
yeah, we are talking in circles, but it's kind of no, I'm with you, and it's a really fascinating kind of problem. I mean, and it is a good problem I'm having because this is all based on people actually giving a shit, and not only giving a shit, but they're like some of them are fanatical about this. And
Yeah, no, it's a huge opportunity more than it is anything. It's like
sure, sure,
if you could address even a couple of their concerns, they would wait another. I hate to say it, but they would wait another 600 days. Like you'd have them on board for years of their life, which
yeah,
is hugely magnified over how much energy you have available to you or energy that you're willing to put in
yeah,
it. Like I don't know.
yeah, and it's one of those things like what can we do with our lives is there's a lot of potential in what we can do, and we can end up you know changing a lot of people's lives, or we can just sit on our asses and not doing anything. I mean, it becomes a more meta, you know,
Yeah.
like someone in the Western world has so much, especially like a white male,
Yeah,
is like,
white male living in America. But I
right.
mean,
I mean, like, what can we do? We could literally change the world if we really wanted to.
well, yeah. I mean, there's like a big meta discussion there. But I mean, sort of practically speaking, I would encourage you to invest like 10 hours of your time in the next week could result in thousands of hours of community members' times to help you if you were to support them in the next week with just a little bit of effort on your part, like the blog post about the new stuff that's coming, just like a couple hours, even like an hour of your work
Yeah,
now
yeah,
could
and
result in literally thousands of hours of people evangelizing the game, making mods, doing things that
yeah,
could like that stuff's kind of on the edge. And it's not really heartwarming that I care about it. I'm kind of fascinated by an example of open development with a
mm,
community, and it's like it could kind of go either way. Like you're on the continental divide, I think, of where things could go in terms of people in your community and investment in general. And it's just kind of fascinating to watch. It's more like a armchair spectacle than it is.
sure, sure, and it is interesting. I mean, and the good news is that I actually have this week that is the only thing I have been doing this week is I haven't worked on the game. Well, that's kind of the funny part is I haven't worked on the game because I have been working on the forums. Like I have actually been in the forums posting, uh, and I even went so far as to fix the forum theme, like that was broken for like a year or half a year or a few months at least. And I went in there and just like gave a shit about it again. And I have been, procrastinating on the devlog post, but it is coming. Like it is what I plan on working on, this week and getting kind of things in shape. So, and I do feel a little bit more motivated too. I mean, I don't know what has caused that motivation to happen, but
Yeah.
it's kind of a mystery bag in general. Like I really don't know when I'm going to be motivated or not. But
Yeah. Well, I mean,
obviously the bundle has motivated me a lot. And yes, it is not necessarily, it isn't only because of the money, believe it or not. It's money has a very, very obviously. I mean, if I'm going to be handed as much money as it seems like Data Realms is coming to it, it's kind of, that is obviously a very strong motivator. I don't think anyone.
I get that. I don't know. My sort of final comment on it is if you're to set an egg timer for an hour, 1 day a week for the next 7 days, and in that hour you're on the blog and on the forum, you would get as a return thousands of hours of.
Yeah. And the good news is that I have spent actually more than an hour in the last, per day. I mean, that one day I was literally like on forums the entire fucking day.
Dan,
so
define active development, please.
I think that really it boils down to the mindset of the developer. Like if I had mentally given up on it, like, I don't feel like working on this ever again, that is not active development anymore. If the developer feels like the way I do, I feel about it, where I am definitely excited about working more on this, especially now. Like I feel myself coming out of one of these lulls. That is active development. Like the funny thing is the project has been around for 10 years. The first 5 of those years, or first 3 or 4 or 5 of those years, no one gave a shit about the game because no one knew about it. Okay, so then it went in and out of active development. Or not in and out of active development. It was an active development. It has been for 10 years, but there's been these pauses that some of them have been year long. And in the beginning, no one cared, because like most projects, no one gave a shit about it, because there's so many projects that have started up, and no one gives a hoot other than the maker of it. And now only when there are people actually who give a damn about the game, there's a problem. That's a long answer to your question, but
no. What I meant was what you said on TigSource is that you earn the right to be in the bundle because you're selling a game that's in active development. So what does your active development as of right now mean?
Because that is I am actively developing it.
But what does that mean? Really, to me, it just sounds like it means you haven't given up on it. That's it.
I'm working on it, and I have an intention. That's really the big thing, is that I am planning to work on it, and I mean, at this very moment, right now, I am not writing code, but after this week, I will probably writing code again. I plan on writing code. I don't know if it's going to happen next week, but that's the thing. Like, what is it when I am hitting keys that are causing characters to appear in my code? Is that am I active then? Like when you see the conundrum there? Like, it's my intention, really. My intention and my plan to keep going.
But you've had the same intention for 10 years now.
I have, yeah. That's actually that might be the hardest thing to believe, is that when I started this, I did set out to finish a goddamn game. That was right. I remember that so clearly. Like, I was like 16 years old, and no, it must have been 17 or 18. Since I'm 28 now, but like it was late teens, and I very clearly started this project. Like, I'm gonna make a game out of this, and it's gonna be finished. That definition of finished wasn't clear then, but it was gonna be like a product that is done, that I can sell. And I've had that intention. I've never really even felt that I want to quit it at any point during this whole time.
So as it stands right now, active development means there's no deadline for the game. There's no release date. You have no plan on when it's going to be done, and you don't even really know how much you're going to be working on it a day-to-day or week-to-week or month-to-month basis, because your motivation comes and goes.
Right.
And that's what active development is.
Active development is the intention to
The
keep
intention.
going.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could be in active development until you fucking die without ever having to touch your keyboard ever again.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Actually, I
Oh
could
my
pass
God.
it off to my I could pass it off to my children, and they could keep having a good intention to finish it. You know,
Okay,
if I
well,
can.
whether you like this or not, you are the only person in the whole world of game development who has that definition of active development. Quit fucking
Perhaps.
saying that.
What's that? Should I stop saying that then?
Quit saying that. That's such bullshit. If anyone else in the world says active development, that means their hands are on their keyboard. Not, I have the intention to someday finish this game. That was your whole super critical precedent.
Is that the definition? I mean, wait. So back up. What is the definition? What is the like?
No, I'm not saying there is an absolute definition of it, but your definition of it is simply that you haven't given up on it. And
that is my definition. But you're saying that's.
I still think about Raptor Safari, but I would never go so far as to say that. Like, I actually think about particular things that I could implement, but I would never go so far as to say that we haven't actually canceled it, because we totally have. Not
yeah. So that is the difference right there. That to me is the difference. Like, you have actually made mental.
No, but I haven't. I actually do plan to within the next 2 or 3 years, I plan to release new versions of the game. I would like to continue development on it. But my point is, I feel it's unfair to say, because
not really, because you're not working. You're working on other stuff now. Like that's kind of also the other thing, is active development.
Aren't you working on one other project?
What's that?
Don't you have the other, like, Blaster Master project?
No, I'm not working on that. That's the thing.
I don't know.
I haven't touched that code.
In my mind, you basically said daydreaming is active development, and that's not cool.
Well, no, hold on.
And
because I have really happened. Like, personally, I have never stopped working on Cortex Command. Like,
but if that's your definition, how can you feign any kind of surprise when people read active development and then become upset because they're like, well, I guess Data's probably daydreaming about the game.
Well, okay, so, the question really, the active development verbiage has nothing to do with my website, because I don't think I ever used that on my website anywhere. It's about the bundle. Right?
Yeah, like the bundle mentioned it, yeah.
Right, the bundle. So the bundle, I described, exactly what happened in the TIG forums, like, in terms of the bundle. Like, Jeff approached me. The first time, I think it must have been a year ago. Like, he approached me about, no, when was the first bundle?
First bundle was, I think, a year ago.
Yeah, so it was shortly after the first bundle. He approached me and kind of poked me about, like, would you like, or could Cortex Command?
Do you know why he approached you? Because
I have no idea.
You were and are an open development hero to these guys. These guys followed in your footsteps because you proved you could start releasing regular updates of a game that was in development and
awesome.
garner a community.
Well, they're doing a better job of it than I am, so that's awesome. But I didn't know that. But I all I know is that he approached me, and I was honored to be considered. Like, I don't see myself at all. I see myself as a smaller operation than they are. Like, and I am, I think in most ways. And I think their projects are way more ambitious than mine. Overgrowth is technically far superior to what Cortex Command is. So even our next project, like, Overgrowth is far, far and beyond. But so I don't see myself. So that is news to me, frankly. Like, I didn't know that's why they approached me. All I know that he contacted me. He said, he basically prodded, like, is it possible for, would you consider? And saying, like, I'm still working on it. It's not going to be in a done state, I don't think. I think in the beginning, I was like, I didn't even, when he first contacted me a year ago, a year ago, I thought it would definitely be done within a year. So I told him, like, maybe it'll be done. I don't know. So then every few months he would contact me again, and, we would catch up, and I would be like, the closer and closer we got to this, the more clear it was to me that it wouldn't be done where I could call it proudly with a straight face that this is a done game. And I told him that, right up front, like, I don't think it's going to be done. It's not going to be done. And he seemed okay with that. So even, obviously he is okay with that because he put it in the bundle. And that I think is awesome, because the people, again, feel entitled to, criticize them for putting whatever the fuck they want in their bundle. Like they could pick, they could pick whatever.
Yeah, they could have like a YouTube video in their bundle. When
I know what the fuck. Like,
yeah, no,
just people are
do get
so
that.
that is totally jealousy based.
I will defend independence on the merits of independence is important. And before I forget, somebody in the chat has been recording this and wants to know if he could post it, like the audio recording, to the Data Realms forums.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I actually told him not to because I just prefer the after show to be off the record. But if
I don't,
if,
it's your show.
no, I mean, no, it's up to you. I don't. I mean,
no objections stem from me is what I'm
okay,
saying.
yeah, go ahead.
So,
Go ahead and post it. Then.
but yeah, it's just it's it's interesting. Where were we? Yeah, so like
I don't know.
their bundle, their bundle, they are so like they can put a YouTube video, they can put a turd in there. It doesn't like no one has the right to demand anything otherwise. They are getting people who are buying the bundle are getting such an incredibly unprecedented deal in general. Like they can pay a cent for 5 games. Like it just
yeah.
No one has the right. It's if anyone criticizes that, they are coming from a point, like a position of jealousy where they wish. There was even someone in the Texas, what's his name, Speedy or whatever, like in the Texas.
Oh yeah, that guy's crazy.
Well, he's awesome. I think he's passionate, and yes, maybe a little crazy, but
I think he's also just Polish, there's like an English barrier.
Well, maybe, but he's in $30,000 of credit debt, and he works every minute he can spare after like 2 full-time jobs or something. I don't know. He has a crazy situation, and like no one gives a shit. But he came out in the most honest, direct way that he is jealous of the bundle because like it's amazing that you can be picked and get hundreds of thousands of dollars for being in this thing, and at least he's honest about it. But most people are like whining about. They have no right. Like just I don't even respond to those people. That's just ridiculous. The only thing that really bothered me was when the veteran fans of Cortex Man, like I wrote, like when they made a huge stink about being disappointed. And I mean,
but I think that
understandably so. Understandably so. The only thing that can really concern me, and that only reason I really got involved in the debate at all, was because I didn't want that to kind of tarnish the bundle.
Yeah, no, I get that, but like even in your own forums, I just don't get why you didn't say, "I'm sorry, I messed up the communication. Stay tuned for a blog post." And like that would have been your
which is what I did, and I haven't.
No, but like verbatim, that is your only engagement, not anything that would get more into it than that.
Oh, you recommend I would have done that?
Yeah, just like a 2-sentence. Hey, sorry, I wasn't able to get more information about this build out.
Yeah,
the deadline for the bundle was crazy.
Yeah, if I had been smarter, I'd probably done that and not listen to any of the idiots who were.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, it felt like you were trying to. At some point, you had engaged in an argument against the internet, and like that's just you're not going to because the internet will be inexhaustibly more angry than you will ever be, and inexhaustibly more time on their hands.
I've learned my lesson. I was just reminded again of why I should never do that, and it's kind of. It was the personal attacks and it was the rabble rousing by very few people actually. I'm realizing now that caused me to get sucked into that. And I mean, like it's just a mistake. I understand that. So, I mean, they are aware, like the specific people that did that on my forums and so on, and they have there's actually a few of them who have been problems for a long time, like years. They are extremely passionate about the game. They're extremely like hardcore fans, but they are also extremely rude and disrespectful and like rabble rousing. Like they will cause trouble.
But they're also but in addition to their list of negative traits, they're also extremely loyal. 2 years.
I wouldn't call that loyal.
2 years.
That's not the type of fan.
Fanatical. They're not a laundry list of negative things.
What's that? I would pay them more than they paid for the game to just have them not be a fan and never like show up.
Refund their shit and say fuck off. Like,
well, that's kind of what I did. I said if you are unhappy, then you are more than welcome to ask for a refund for everything, and it will be granted right away, and you can go somewhere else and play something else, play any of the other. But that's kind of not. it's not what they want. They
Well,
like the, that's why they've been sticking around and investing so much in it and so on. So, it's just I suspect they're just immature. Like these guys are just, they don't know how to deal with these emotions, so they let them turn into very negative, kind of damaging comments and so on, and it's just dumb. Like that makes me not want to have anything to do with these guys anymore. And then I told them that, like, you guys are not welcome, especially, they're probably going to get back in my forums because I banned them, and they still come back. They just change IP or do anything to get back in. I know they can get back in. At least they are aware that they're not welcome anymore. So because if someone comes into my website as a guest, which they are, and they act in that way, it's the whole analogy with, like, if I have a house party and people come in and start trashing the place and trashing me and so on, it's just, they're not welcome anymore. They get the fuck out. That's my view on it. I think that's completely analogous to my website and my business.
Yeah.
So, but that's a different. That's very few, and it's something that bothered me a lot, and that's why I really shouldn't have gotten involved with that. But live and learn.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty much spent on this. Plus, I have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to take Kyle to the airport.
Yeah. Wait, is it 8:30? Wow, you're a baby.
5:30.
What are you talking about?
Kyle Pulver is going to the airport tomorrow morning, like butt ass early.
Okay. I see. You're being generous. Okay, very cool.
No, yeah, I'm actually waking up at 5:30 to take his ass to the
Where's he
airport.
going? Where's he going?
He's going. I think he's just going home, and then he comes back on the 30th for our trip to Las Vegas.
To Vegas, yeah.
Hey, Shaq, come to Vegas with us.
I think I might pass on that, frankly. I appreciate the offer. I don't know. Like, Vegas, I was there recently, and
Yeah. We're there for 2 nights. Yeah, we're going to Vegas for New Year's Eve.
Shag is excited.
Shag, you're welcome to fly in and join us.
Boy, if Shag's coming, I have to reconsider. I come out. Oh, let's see. So anyway, yeah, that's good. Okay, so have a good night, and I appreciate the to come.
Yeah. I mean, it was somewhat circular, but it was a good discussion. It's good to.
It's the way I roll. I when I talk, especially on Skype and stuff like that, it'll be circular and redundant to the max.
Yeah, it's like let me try to re-articulate this with a different analogy.
Right, exactly.
No, but yeah, no, that's how I just communicate too. It makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, cool. Do I sign out or what? How does this work?
Yeah, you can just quit the conference. I'm gonna go.
Bye, folks. It was fun.
Later, internet.
Love you all.
You still there, Ben?
Yeah.
You frustrated?
No, I'm fine.
I hear you smashing things in the background. But yeah, seriously, Shag, join us in Vegas. I don't think he's actually going to. Or Michael.
He's got year-end bonuses to cash in.
We're driving up on the 31st. And then we have a 700 square foot suite on the night of the 31st, so we have crash there. And then we're driving back on the 2nd. I figured you probably have plans. Can you come? If you send me an email and say, "Hey, I'm in Vegas. Where the fuck are you guys?" I might tell you. But we're just gonna be wandering around drunk. You're an anonymous name. I'd be like, "Yeah, you streamer 3285 wants to join us." Ah, sweet. Yeah, I figured everyone's got family stuff. Tommy's gonna join us, in theory, if he's not wherever the hell Tommy spends his time. I'm hungry, Ben, but I'm too lazy to go anywhere.
Order Jimmy John's.
I might. I actually want some Chipotle, but I have to drive or bike.
Yeah, it's nice out. It's like 80.
Oh, man. All right.
I guess I'll go seethe off microphone.
What?
I guess I'll go seethe off
Oh,
microphone.
seethe. That's that. I didn't hear the verb.
Yeah.
64 degrees. It's a little bit cold.
Are you going to be in the office tomorrow?
Yeah, yes. I'll probably be in after I take Kyle to the airport.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, like if I drive all the way back home and get home at like 6:30 and go back to sleep, I feel like I'm just gonna wake up feeling like shit.
Okay. Well, then, yeah, I'll see you like 5 hours after you get there.
Yeah, I'll be in tomorrow. I'm gonna do game developers conference stuff all week. Oh, you're gone. All right. Well, now it's just me and the internet, and I feel really awkward talking to you guys one way like this. All right. I will see you internet dudes later. And yeah, those of you new to TIGRadio, there's archive shows. Some are kind of rambly, some are pretty good. Later internets.